What is up, everyone? Welcome back to Base Damage. Hope you're all doing well, and today I wanted to take a look at the second half of a comments that I got. I already made one video talking about the needing more back row interactions in Weiss, but the comment brought up by the same person, Tyrese, had also mentioned something about not wanting the opponent to be able to search out cards as much. He says he feels like basically finding ways to deal with your opponent, like crafting their hand in such a way that they're able to just combo and go off on you. And in my mind, I do not feel that is something that's necessary for Weiss. I do not think that that's a problem in any shape, form, or fashion. Instead, in the process of trying to come up with a video about why I disagree, I instead had a little bit of a better idea. Instead of making it negative by disagreeing, instead, what if we had a middle ground here, Tyrese? What if we met in the middle with creating our own card for anti-search? And that is what I wanted to discuss today. Obviously, there are some quote-unquote anti-cards already in Weiss as it is. It goes to specific sets, but we're going to get a little bit more into specifics later on. But to give some examples, basically, I came up with a couple rules. I do not have something concrete in play. This is more a hypothetical proposition, just like, hey, if we were to make something like this, what could we choose? What could be in play for it? So I wanted to take a look at some of the other anti-cards that are in Weiss. First of which, obviously, I've talked about it more than enough times on this channel, anti-salvage. So we do have to kind of discuss like the timings and stuff of these certain cards. So I'll read the anti part verbatim. During the attack phase, when your character or your opponent's character is returned to the hand from the waiting room, all of that player's characters get -3 soul until end of turn. Basically preventing your opponent from gaining too much advantage with like salvage triggers, salvaging climax combos, etc. So that is one of the cards that's been around forever. There's just one other anti-salvage to my knowledge in English. I don't know if there's any others in JP just yet, but this is one of two that I know of in English. The other is Sitting Mekon from Tool Over. I couldn't remember if I had the picture up here or not. I was like, oh yeah, I do have this pulled up in a tab. So Sitting Mekon, basically the same thing. There is another quote-unquote anti-card that initially came in Kantai, but we do also have in Kill La Kill, which is this level 0 Hibiki. Basically, when it gets reversed in battle, you can pay a cost to send it to memory. Well, sending it to memory is the cost, but basically be able to summon a level 1 version of itself. But while it is in the memory, it makes it so it reads as such. If this card is in your memory when your card or your opponent's card in the clock is put into the waiting room due to the respective player's card effects, that player may put the top 2 cards from the stock into the waiting room. If not, that player puts the top card of the deck into the clock. Basically stating, what this is referred to as heel tax. Basically stating if you or the opponent were to try to heal, that you either take the damage again or you have to pay a cost. In this example is you have to either pay 2 stock for this, or a new one that came out, which I need to zoom in on this a little bit, sorry. Farewell and Promise Kazuki. If it is in the memory, when the same condition occurs, if a card in the clock, I was going to say a character in the clock, a card in the clock is put into waiting room due to that respective player's card effects, that player may choose one card in their hand and put it into their waiting room. So it basically forces them to discard. Otherwise, that player puts the top card of their deck into their clock. So taking these cards, the anti-effects, as kind of examples, I wanted to propose a couple rules and ways we could go by crafting an anti-search card. Now, I do not have the answers for all of these, but I did want to discuss a couple things for this. I just took like 10 minutes to make this in Paint. So the rules and conditions I feel needed to be for anti-search is, number 1, it has to affect both players. Both of these effects that are currently in the game say when your character or your opponent's character is returned to hand, when your card or your opponent's card in the clock is put into the waiting room. Yes, I totally feel, being able to affect either player is going to be making it the most fair. And that's the biggest thing, is making this fair. So that way, if you're trying to run a card that makes it so your opponent can't search, you should not be able to either. Because I do not want there to be like negation effects in Weiss. I feel it's something that needs to be able to affect both players. There has to be like a penalty for it, etc. But so the next thing I want to do, obviously try to discuss, is when the effect activates. So this is probably going to be one of the biggest portions of it, because in terms of searching effects, you do have the tie right here as an example. When this card is placed on stage from hand, you can pay 1 stock and discard a card. If you do, search your deck for up to 1 music character, add it to your hand. So this lets you play during the main phase and do your searching. Then there is another one. I'm just using these as an example because of the thumbnail that Joe made. It states, when the battle opponent becomes reversed, if you have a particular climax in play, you can pay a cost to search your deck for up to 1 music character and 1 particular event. But it's the fact of, this is going to be happening during the attack phase. So there's main phase searching with various card effects. You could have this, you could have brainstormer searchers as well. I just wanted to give the 2 main things, and this happens with salvage as well. This is the same for this as well. This particular one only activates in the attack phase, but there are such things as drop salvagers, literally like the exact same cost as this tie. On play, pay 1, pitch a card, grab back a character from waiting room to hand. But because that happens in the main phase, that does not trigger this effect. So there's, once again, another level of, I feel, fairness. I feel it needs to be one or the other. I know there are some climax combos that go off specifically for the searching or salvaging in the climax phase, but once again, that's a way to play around it, which is perfectly fair. I feel if you put it as one is in, the effect is either in the main phase or in the attack phase, I feel that's going to make it a little bit more fair. But I do want to come back to one of these. As what we could possibly decide on, but especially because of point number 3 is, what is the penalty? Now, I can already see a issue with this. It depends on the penalty, because you got to think, searching, you're adding a card from deck to hand, or something along those lines. In terms of adding cards to hand, the most logical penalty in my mind would be like the Kazuki here, which makes it so the penalty for this is either you have to take a damage, which you just healed anyway, or you have to discard 1 card. So I almost feel that would even it out a little bit in my mind, but the moment I thought of this, I already saw a problem. And that is, if you do it during the main phase, people could take advantage of that. I feel that could be very, very easily, I was about to say manipulated, and that's not the word. Just taken advantage of. Exploited, that's the word I was thinking of. I feel it could be very easily exploited with decks like standby decks and stuff. I couldn't think of the word again. It is very early in the morning, forgive me. If you're playing a standby deck, you could play a search effect like this during the main phase. Specifically, grab a piece you need or grab a target for your standby. And then it's like, oh, the penalty went off. I guess I have to discard a card. Oh, look, here goes a standby target. Discarded. Climax phase, play the standby. And then then you're off to the races. Literally, the penalty would be helping you. At that point, you could purposely run that anti-search in your own standby deck. And I do not feel that is going to be in the realm of fairness. I feel that's going to be something that people can easily take advantage of. On the flip side of that, if we did the attack phase, I know, yes, you could still trigger stuff like standby or choice or whatever in the attack phase, obviously, but I do not feel people could take advantage of it as easily. Say if they did a searching effect and then they searched, and, you know, they activated it, they added a card from deck to hand, and then the anti-search went off. If they were to discard after, you know, then be like, oh, I'm going to search this standby target, and then I have to discard the standby. You're in the attack phase. I know there are some decks that can manipulate what they trigger off the top of the deck, but those are far and few between. One of the biggest ones being Nino, that just isn't run right now for some reason. I've only seen one deck top, you know, and just saying. I've only seen one 8 standby Nino top with that recently. With the, like, a lot of the top checking effects. But that, I do not feel that can be as easily taken advantage of, as opposed to doing it during the main phase. I could immediately see it. I could immediately see a problem. So me personally, when the effect activates, I feel needs to be in the attack phase specifically. I do not feel people should get punished for playing drop salvagers, drop searchers, etc., because you're already paying a cost. You're paying stock, you're paying cards from hand, maybe you're taking a damage or something like that. Or I say specifically from like the drops, the ones that on play do the effects, but even brainstormers, you're paying a cost, you're having to mill cards and stuff like that. So I mean, you're already doing that. I feel it specifically should affect the advantage engines in the same realm that Hatsukaze does. I mean, to the same effect, you could do the -3 soul that Hatsu does if a card is added from deck to hand, you know. You could do that. Now, this, I do not feel having to pay extra stock like the Hibiki would work, and I'm not trying to copy these particular effects verbatim. Like forcing your opponent to discard seems like the most obvious penalty, or a player to discard feels like it's the most obvious choice in the world to me. So, but there could be a better penalty. So this is why I kind of leave this one a bit more open-ended. Me personally, I feel needs to be in the attack phase, but that's whatever. So, moving on, like I said, if we went to the penalty or something, I would love for people to comment down below what they feel could be a proper penalty. Hell, even some card art, you know, toss whatever ideas you have for this, just as long as they follow the rules of, you know, it has to affect both players, and I feel it needs to happen in a specific phase. I don't feel it can just happen whenever. I do not feel that that's fair. And then the last thing that I want to put and kind of get people thinking of is what sets will have it. Like, obviously people are gonna be like, oh, you know, maybe an upcoming like English exclusive could have it. But the reason I say this is another video down the road I want to come up with, that me and a couple people are brewing together. We will discuss that more at a later date, but it's kind of the thing of like Kantai Collection had both anti-salvage and heel tax in set 1. This wasn't even spread across different sets. This happened all in the same set. Like I said, the only other heel taxes are in Grisaya and Kill la Kill. But from what I've seen, neither Kill la Kill nor Grisaya have the anti-salvage. To the same effect, Tuliveru has anti-salvage, but I don't see heel tax in Tuliveru. I also think there's another volume that we didn't get for Tuliveru, for like Darkness Second. I think there's another volume that we never got in English. Don't hold me to that. I had to look back again. I'm going based off of several like years of memory here. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of propose like a hypothetical. I would love for people to discuss this in the comment section if you so desire. Once again, I realize, I know this doesn't answer the thing of like dealing with people who are just able to combo off exactly, because I realize if it happens in one phase, a player could just take advantage of it in a different phase. And there's even ways obviously around this. There's ways around the heel tax and stuff like that. That's why I say even the penalty could be something that you're able to play around. It's just something that I haven't fully come up with just yet, but I would love for the community to get together and brainstorm stuff. You see what I did there? Because, you know, brainstormers and Weiss. Anyway, so I do feel it would be really cool to get the community together to kind of come up with an idea for an effect for this. Maybe another content creator has already done this type of video and has something better. Whatever. I just wanted to throw my 2 cents into, you know, throw my hat in the ring, so to speak, even though I'm not wearing a hat. But that's whatever. Regardless, thank y'all very much for watching. We got a bunch of other fun ideas similar to this coming down the pipeline. And please like and subscribe if you want. If not, hey, thanks for checking it out, and we'll see y'all on the flip side. Peace out for now.